Hey there, baseball fans. Welcome to another edition of the Prep Baseball of North Carolina podcast. I'm Brandon Hall. I'm the State Director of Scouting and oversee the Mid-Atlantic, and hope you're doing well. Joining us today, the best baseball minds in North Carolina, Aaron Reimer out the coast, Zach Borowski in the Triangle area. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Good.
You know, if I could ever figure out this whole stream layout so I'm not doing it on my phone, it'd be great. You know, we're gonna have a seasonal approach to the podcast today. We're gonna be on the porch with some wind chimes in case anybody needs it. If you hear any kids screaming, my bad. That means school's out.
That's part of the charm. If you get the technology figured out, we lose something overall. So,
Yeah, we're not. Me and StreamYard haven't had a good 3 weeks together, so we're gonna figure this out at some point. You know, might be getting a new laptop soon, is what it sounds like.
Okay. Well, we'll take that. That'll be the first thing we'll take in the comments is anybody wants to suggest a type of laptop. What should Coach Borowski go with? Because I know he's just going to walk into a store. He's going to look for something initially and just buy it. He's not going to do a ton of research on it. So we need all the help we can get. If somebody has suggestions for him, what are the main uses of the laptop these days?
Just StreamYard and Prep Baseball scouting reports, to be honest with you. I prefer it to be blue. That's probably the only thing. I'm a big blue guy. So you can find me like a semi-blue. Not big on the gray charcoal laptop, so blue. If we can find a blue one. All
right. That's a first for me. What are you looking for in a laptop? Blue.
Yeah, because most of my stuff's blue. My attire's blue. You guys just haven't got me many blue shirts yet. So
we don't have blue in the repertoire right now. No,
we don't. The shoes were blue. The Mizuno shoes.
That's right. That
was a big win.
Well, watch this podcast transition from talking about blue computers. Let's talk about the red, white, and blue.
Uh-oh.
Like that?
Yeah, I do.
Baseball Classic championship game tonight. How much have you guys been able to watch this as it's gone through the last 2 weeks or so?
I've got to watch most of it. You know, because it comes on late. Like, it's not like you don't have the 1 o'clock game. You usually get the 8 or the 11 game. So it's been pretty good for me. I'm excited to see Nolan. You know, it's a bittersweet rivalry to see Nolan. Nolan was supposed to come play for me at Fuquay High School. I lost out in the recruiting battle. Not really. There wasn't a recruiting battle. But in theory, he lived in our district, and he ended up at Garner playing for DG, one of the best. You know, so that was always going to be a fun, special place in my heart, but sore spot at the same time.
Reimer, you guys been able to dial in on this thing yet? Oh, did he freeze?
Oh, Reimer froze. The dang weight room.
You...
Dang weight room got him.
Oh, he's back. Let's see.
I've been dialed in on the American games. My wife controls the TV 50% of the time.
Okay.
Hit your microphone. You're getting close, Coach.
No, he's good. You're the one lagging now.
Am I?
Yeah,
I hear you.
So you touched on Nolan, and we have an article up on the website today, kind of chronicling our coverage of Nolan. That 2020 class in high school was the first class. I'm trying to remember because I left Charlotte at the end of 16, so 17, 18. So he was the first class I think I covered for 4 years. We actually recruited him a little bit when he was in middle school. Just because you had the name, we're trying to get him on campus and kind of getting ahead on guys like that. And then, you know, you're trying to track and figure out just how good an athlete he is, and you see kind of where it goes to. What was, you know, any big memories from facing him, whether it was, you know, watching him on the gridiron or what you guys saw when you were playing against Garner while you were at Fuquay?
Yeah, I mean, we saw him all 4 years. He pitched against us early. He was like 91 as a freshman, and we were like, good God, this is not going to be fun for 4 years. I want to say we had a little success, and my success was we got to walk him, and we won some games because he didn't get to hit. He's hit some of the furthest home runs I've ever seen in my entire life. He hit one off of us that I don't think has landed yet. I think we got a winning record against him, but like in the scheme of things, like he's a great kid. I got to spend I want to say a winter. He came by our batting cages, and I want to say it was the most effortless 97 I think I've ever seen. And then he also got to hit off me, and like I know he's not hitting anymore, but like y'all don't know, this dude used to hit balls like 120. Like I didn't feel safe in a batting cage. Like it was a different level of explosion. And he's also like the greatest dude ever. Like he's a wonderful human. So like he was just fun to be around.
Yeah, he's obviously he's getting the start tonight for Team USA. It's a little bit of a shock in the way that they built the rotation, but you got to get to the championship game at first, I guess. Lining those guys up so that a rookie last year is now going to start the championship game, but it speaks to what his stuff's doing. I mean, it's power, it's velocity, but it's the fastball disappears, the slider disappears. He just runs balls off bats, and with the article that's up on the website now, it's kind of pictured here. We actually were able to go back all the way to 2017, where we got reports from Coach. I'm going to say it wrong. Goffney. My Southern in me, sometimes I can't see letters the right way, so Goffney. In the ability to kind of track and watch what people were saying around him, and then for a long time there, we had kind of positioned ourselves with the industry sees him as a hitter. We kind of see him as a position player. As a pitcher. And the velocity and the slider and the athleticism we thought was going to take hold at some point, but it wasn't like it was a blowout. It could have gone either way in terms of how he got to the big leagues. And if he had just wanted to hit, he probably gets to the big leagues at some point because the power numbers were so prestigious. It was just there was some swing and miss in there a little bit, but going back to looking at how we processed him as an athlete, he was interesting because he did the summer circuit kind of. He didn't do the fall circuit. And in his preseason, he was an advanced athlete. It wasn't a deal where he was trying to get ready for February 1. He was trying to get ready knowing what his summer schedule was going to be after the spring and not trying to dial up too early. So, these preseason events and things of that sort weren't high on his agenda. Guys had to really work to get in and see him and put evaluations on him. He went to bigger stages with a lot less reps than some other players and had to put on performances and shows there. And then even when he leaves high school, he goes to Oklahoma State, and was he the third on the depth chart for quarterback his freshman year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everything depended on football. Like, he turned down any offer in baseball because it was going to have to be a two-way deal.
Yep.
From what I remember, like, it was football, quarterback. I mean, if you ever watched him throw a football, it was magnificent. And he also played basketball. A lot of people don't realize this. And, like, he was a pretty integral part of a really good basketball team for them. I want to say he played small four or big three. Dunk a basketball with ease. Like, could shoot it. Was a great defender. Like, he was just an all-around really good athlete. I'm not sure everybody now knows the story of Nolan that, he was a legitimate three-sport athlete in high school.
Yeah, in the story that we have posted actually kind of continues to chronicle him all the way into college. And so Dave Seifert, who's our kind of our college scouting supervisor, is out in the Midwest, had a chance to see Nolan on multiple occasions and multiple write-ups and kind of tracking. And it was interesting to kind of go back through and read, okay, here's where we thought of him as a freshman in high school and a sophomore and a junior and a senior, and in his second year and in his Cape and in his junior year, and seeing how the scouting reports aligned. And then it also kind of brings us back to, how those guys, continue to progress, what the developmental system's like and the guys that they're around. So, we're going to come back to the World Baseball Classic, but real quick, Reimer, we'll go for you first, but, athletes that stand alone stand out, guys that you've seen, you've coached, you've been around, who are those guys? And we're talking about like top 3% guys, the guys that really don't have to work hard, regardless of whether or not they are hard workers. They don't have to. They can just show up and go. You got one that kind of stands out in your mind?
Two off the top of my head. And the crazy thing is, they're probably the two of the hardest workers I've ever seen. Luke Nixon and Walker Jenkins. Them dudes, they're different. And they just never cut it off either. So I don't know if they get to where they are, if they would have cut it off, but there's no off switch on them guys.
Yeah, and Walker was obviously a guy that was very early on kind of seen as this is the next first round out of North Carolina, and I always contend that's harder for guys. They have that stigma on them for their junior year and their senior year. Now all these scouts are coming in to see him to go, why am I not going to give him $3 million? What's the reason? And they're waiting for something. And as soon as it happens, they pounce. He can't do this. He won't do that. He's not a good person. He's not a good team. Constantly researching reasons not to take that guy. And Walker just continued to kind of step up and take hold of that. The articles that would come out on him, as good a baseball player as he was, there were just as many articles of him being the guy cleaning the dugout, and it sounds cliche and goofy, but he was doing it at places where he didn't have to do it. There were no cameras. There was nobody there watching. There was nothing going on, but it would happen. And then inevitably there'd be a guy there that knew who he was, but didn't know him. And that's the story they want to tell because, it does. It's a separator. Zach, who'd you have kind of around you that separated themselves?
Oh, it's got to be either Humphreys or Egan. Just electric arm guys. Humphreys had the really good breaking ball, and Egan had like the magical year of one earned run. McChrystal's in there too because he hit for 4 years. Like, I don't know. Like, I was blessed. Like, I can't say I had one. Like, seeing those three, like, for me was elite. I'd throw a guy out from the beach that I saw, Blake Walston from New Hanover, who pitched against me, was probably a different, like, he was just different than everybody else. And he was only a junior then. I would say those, I'll throw out, obviously Nolan, maybe Greg Jones, because he made it in the big leagues as a shortstop outfielder. There were just different level athletes around here recently.
So for me, I'm gonna go back a little further than you guys because I can. But my first one is Josh Hamilton, and everybody knows the story. Maybe the high school guys now don't know, but Josh Hamilton was
a dude.
He was a freak. You think about freaks, he was the freak of freaks. And, it was before guys were throwing 90 on the bump, he was 92, 95. And then he would get in the box and just, he could hit for power, he could run. But I was working at Wilmington, and we used to host East Coast Pro. And his very first ball at the East Coast Pro from right field, they hit it. It hit something. It took a weird hop. It went over his glove. He was pissed. And he went after the ball. They're yelling, "You're okay. Bring it. Take another. Take another." And he goes and gets the ball, and then flat-footed from the right field corner in Wilmington, throws a ball on a line. It hits the third baseman in the face. And the ball never got 12 feet off the ground. It was unbelievable. And then he put on the display. And then you fast forward to seeing what he did in the home run derby where he had that one round where he hit it felt like he hit 150 home runs. It was probably 28, 30, 35, something like that. But nobody's been able to do that since. They changed the rules because of that, because that home run derby went so far. He was the first, and he continues to come up. Athens Drive actually retired his number this past week in a game on Saturday, and was able to have him out, honor him, which is good.
Former assistant coach at Fuquay High School, by the way, Josh Hamilton.
There you go.
He was in our yearbook. He was first assistant coaches. He used to take BP with us when he was making his return before he made it back. He was actually with us all the time. And to your point, the throwing story, we used to talk a lot of junk to Josh because he said he threw hard. We're like, there's no chance you throw as hard as you say. He put a ball in the right field corner. It said, watch this, threw the ball all the way to third on the line. And we're like, oh, my God, we're not playing catch with you anymore. And then his call to fame used to be he would just take a tee out and he would take BP off a tee and he would hit home runs like it was nobody's business. His wood bat was a 35, 34 and a half or 34. We used to try and swing it, and it was like we were swinging two trees. Like, it was unbelievable what he swung. We weren't allowed to have infielders while he took BP at Fuquay. Like, it was like we had a rule. He hit with us every day. Like, he was like one of us for like 6 months. This was in like 2006. He was with us all the time, dressed out. He's in our yearbook as a coach in a uniform. I'll pull it up one day. We'll post it. But, no, it was pretty cool. I spent a lot of time with him. I was his bat boy, too, when he was playing Legion ball. So I got to spend probably more time with Josh.
Too, I joke when his MLB special came out on the MLB network. They showed him in high school, and they're like, and he had he had 80 power or whatever they're saying in the background. Well, the guy giving up the bombs, my brother, he was a good high school pitcher. He gave up two in his high school career, but when you give up one to Hamilton, it lingers a little bit. So my other guy is not quite as well known a name. It's a guy I actually played with out of Cary High School, Paul Wilder. Paul was the first ever draft pick of the Tampa Bay Rays. And at the time, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. 6'6", 245, 6'4", 6'5", 60. The arm was adequate enough, but BP, he was one of those guys that balls different off his bat. His hit tool lagged. His power tool was, astronomical. And then the athlete tool was really, really high. He did not play, to my knowledge, high school football. He never set foot on the football field. And in his junior year, every SEC and every ACC team offered him a scholarship for football, just based on his size, his metrics, and in the way he ran. So he was one of those guys. He was different, and he did not get a chance at the big leagues. I don't think. I think he kind of AA kind of filtered right there, made a cup of coffee in AAA, but a different dude to play with. You start trying to figure out where you stand in high school, and hey, I'm going to have a chance to get to the big leagues. I'm going to have a chance to play Division I or whatever it is, and then you see that guy, and you go, you know what? I'm doing pretty good where I'm at right now. I'm going to enjoy this. So, back to the World Baseball Classic. Who do you got tonight, Zach?
There's no chance I'm not taking Team USA. I think Venezuela used a lot of their bullets last night in their bullpen, a couple of their big arms. Team Italy put up a big fight for us. I'm a big fan of them. Vinny P and Cags. So I think USA's got a really good chance. I'm kind of worried. Supposedly Mason Miller can't throw tonight. That's the rumor going around town. That doesn't mean he ain't gonna throw. I don't know who's gonna make the big step up. But the rumor is Miller can't close tonight due to his contract stuff.
Reimer, who you got?
America by 100.
Okay. Okay, just cut and dry. I'm going with Team USA because I don't see it playing out, but I worry about Contreras, Acuna, and then the catcher from Kansas City that's been there for 100 years.
Salvi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it only takes a bleeder, a hit by pitch, and a bomb, and now you're playing uphill.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to get off to a good start and see if we can't play from downhill, play with a lead, start putting pressure on them that way, because there's something goofy is going to happen. It's going to happen both ways. It's just a matter of where the score is when the goofy thing happens.
First pitch ball. Throw Acuna a first pitch ball. Do not let him go first pitch.
Yeah,
into the third row.
I've been watching him for a long time as a Braves fan, and he plays hard. But it's interesting to see when these are big leaguers. These are guys that play every day. There's a pace to where they play. And when you put the watch on them, they're running hard down the line. But watching them in this series and watching them in a game 65, there is an intensity to it, obviously, that's completely different. I think the international guys do a great job of embracing it. I don't know how we bring that to a 162-game schedule. I think the college guys have a feel for that. I think for us, in these types of events, playing guys that have been in college, a Nolan McLean, he's been around this. He's played in the Bedlam series with Oklahoma. He's played, with chances to go to Omaha. Those things matter in this. I think the international guys get it in some of their winter leagues and some of the way that they grow up. But I think that aspect in a one-game playoff versus the guy that leaves high school and then plays 11 years of pro ball before he actually has a meaningful game, in a playoff game or a World Series, it's different for those guys because they've kind of grown up in it. They understand how to turn that intensity and dial it up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we're all we bleed baseball, but they're a different definition of bleed the sport. They're passionate, man. I told my dad this. We were talking about I want to go watch two countries, not the USA, just because I want to listen to their fans. I want to just be a part of somebody else's culture of baseball because, for us, I think we all love the game. We all wouldn't do this without the game, but if I could go sit there and watch Venezuela and Italy last night and watch their fans go at it, oh my God, I think that would be better than some of the games just to me, watching the passion of everybody.
We'll transition from that to, one of our biggest events of the summer. And Zach, you've been a part of it for multiple years now. Aaron, you're going to get a chance to taste it for the first time this summer, the North Carolina versus South Carolina border battle. And the idea is, here in North Carolina, we're selecting players. We're going to put together 4 teams. South Carolina selecting players. They're going to put together 4 teams. We're going to be at UNC Charlotte for 2 days in June. The initial invites went out yesterday. The invites right now, to have qualified for this, we need to have seen you at an event in the fall or the preseason. That's our pool of players for right now. We can expand that later, but we're going to work through that pool of players first. And then it's limited, because we've got limited spots for those orders and trying to get guys at bats and trying to get guys seen. But, it's a unique event for us, Zach, and we're playing at a great place at UNC Charlotte with, the turf infield. We had to use the indoor facility last year. but a place that allows players to, do a really good job of showcasing who they are for 2 days. Your thoughts as we get ready to take on South Carolina again?
I'd like to win at some point. Team North Carolina, we're going to have to figure this out. We need more strikes this year. We need a little more timely hitting. I enjoy it. Like, the kids, I don't think get as much of this. Like, all 4 of us or 5 of us, or how many, like, real guys are with us all, like, we're former coaches. So it's like our one chance we kind of get to rivalize and, like, go at people. Like, we're all really good friends in the company, but, like, I want to be able to talk smack. And we ain't been able to talk a lot of smack. Charlotte does a great job. It's a great city. We get to have, like, the big workout day and then a couple games. And, the players, there's enough space where you're not getting overheated and overworked as long as we don't get this tropical monsoon that has seemed to found us for the last couple years to the point where, like, we're hiding in a dugout because our feet are getting soaked. But as I said, like, to the guys, like, it's a great one. I think there's always been 10 to 15 coaches at every event like we've done this one with. There's always 4 or 5 guys that commit right after it. I think it's a great fit and atmosphere for everything.
Yeah, we're actually, we're a little above 20, almost 25 coaches last year, close to 30 the year before. And it's an area where we got a chance to draw a lot of good players. And your first time going through this, Aaron, and that balance of showcase and allowing guys to do their thing versus putting them in a competitive field versus real baseball. What are you've kind of been through the showcase circuit with us now and seeing guys go through workouts. What are your expectations for this North Carolina versus South Carolina deal?
It's funny because there's a ton of different events throughout the year, but being able to, like, actually be a part of this one, because I'd get phone calls from my kids. Hey, I got this invite. North Carolina, South Carolina border battle was always like, yep, go do that. We'll fill in for you this tournament. So, like, being a part of good tournaments or good events is something. That's why I'm here.
Right. No, we're glad you are. So that event's up on the website. It's going to fill up extremely fast. So be checking emails, checking what's going on, and we're putting together, obviously, for this event, college coaches coming in, chance to see guys early, but then the ultimate goal too is the ability to get to a futures game, super sophomore games, Tobacco Road State games. So on the back end of the summer, all of those events will be pulled from players that we have seen in 2026 at our events. That way we have the numbers, we have the metrics, and we can market the players to the college coaches who may be attending. So we'll move forward here. And the next thing we want to talk about, as I'm pulling up my notes in the private chat, is our 2027 rankings. So we went through a huge, preseason. We saw a ton of players left, right, up, down, sideways, inside out, nothing outside. Everything was indoors. We battled weather. We had events canceled. We were moving players from one side of the state to the other. And at the end, we're unpiling from all this. We're going through our list of players, and, the depth in the 27 class has been extremely impressive as I'm going through all the information. I think the top end, we have a chance to have 2 guys, maybe a third guy that are going to be in that top 1, 2, 3 round, discussion. They're going to be heavily vetted, this spring, this upcoming summer for sure, in the next fall, and trying to position themselves where they want to be. But there's a list of guys below that the pro draft and those guys making those decisions got to be on. And then for me, when we look at, the top 85, the top 100, and again, don't look at the number right next to a player's name. Look at the grouping of players. That grouping of players is typically, for Division I's to kind of look at, 70 to 90, somewhere in there. And you have some outliers here and there. But right now it's deeper, and it's one of the deeper classes we've seen. As you guys have kind of filtered through this information, all this information we've seen on the 2027s, some initial names or prospects to kind of watch as we're going through the spring and getting ready for the summer.
Primer, you're going first.
Gotcha. Man, like you said, this thing is deep. And I was down in Jupiter 3 years ago, and Jacob Seaman, we take him with us as he might have been a third grader. Yep. And we get him in the exhibition game, and he's like a baby giraffe. And I hadn't really seen him since. Now I'm looking at videos, and he's a grown man. Got introduced to the Hucko kid, holy cow, what an athlete. So, I mean, the top end is really good. But as you move down the list, you're like, this is a deep, deep class.
We got video here pulled up of Seaman, and it's a different body. You know, he's not Walker Jenkins, but that body, that frame, that length. Ryan Clifford is another guy from the North Carolina that's had that kind of length and kind of looked the part. It's the rhythm he has in his body. You know, you watch his load, you watch him sink in the lower half. He's shown an ability at the bigger events to get the barrel to really, really good pitching, and it's kind of elevated who he is. At the same time, you know, he's one of those guys. He's and I'm not positive offhand what he's listed at, but I'm going to guess he's 6'4", 6'5", and just being in that range, you know, that's long arms, it's long legs, it's trying to figure out where all these moving pieces are going to go. There have been some sections, some times where the timing and rhythm has been off, and he's handled it well. And so, you know, when you're on the outside looking in, you're going, okay, you know, we want to see these guys play really, really well. We want to see these guys in their element and produce and be productive and handle velocity and handle breaking balls. But we also, I'd like to see these guys fail. And when Jacob Seaman has failed, he has turned it around very quickly. And he's been a good teammate outside looking in. He's been a guy that's the demeanor's been good. And so you start checking a lot of boxes in terms of, you know, where he's got a chance to be and what he's got a chance to become as that body continues to fill out, because he is going to handle weight. He is going to handle strength. Zach, who you got?
I'm always going to take Hucko. I think he's got the chance to, you know, be the biggest, I'm not going to say jump, but like, I think he has a chance to be the guy that jumps in theory of people knew who he was, and now he's a national guy. You know, I don't know if he's a left-handed pitcher. I don't know if he's an outfielder. I just know that he could be one of the best players in the state. Anytime you can play center field and hit the way that he does, you know, when you fall back on 90 to 90, I'm going to say 94 just because I think he can throw a baseball 94 miles an hour if he actually really tried. I think I'm going to say he's the floor guy. Like, I know Seaman, you know, has all these high-end tools, but I think Hucko's floor might be a little bit higher.
Yeah, he just does a lot of things easy. You know, the athletic numbers in terms of, you know, what he ran, what he jumped, the hand strength, some of those numbers were predictable. He ran a little bit better than what I thought he was going to run, which, you know, only bolstered what his prospect status is. But it's what he does here that's a separator. The bat and the way it gets through the zone, the way the ball comes off the bat, it's different. You know, the next step for him is, and he's starting it this spring because he's got so many guys kind of in there to watch him and watch what's going on as they're watching O'Rourke and Hoffman and Marconi. You know, he's getting a jump start with some pro guys as they're trying to figure out where everything fits for this summer and the next draft. But, you know, throughout the course of the summer, he's going to be a guys are keyed in on. You know, East Coast Pro workout. Should he make the East Coast Pro team? I would think that he would, but I don't have any say. You know, he's going to get there. And then, you know, we've seen already with what's happening in the 2026 rankings, the 2026 prospects, the way guys are tiered and boarded out, you know, their ability to not necessarily produce at East Coast Pro, but just play well. Give me good at bats, you know, and you guys can speak to this as well because you've seen it, you know, one from a scouting side and two from the coaching side with those high school athletes. Showcases aren't designed for offensive guys. They're designed to give offensive guys a chance to see good pitching. They're designed for the pitchers, but you're not going to get 2 at-bats against the elite arm. He's going to flip the order once, and he's out of there. He's going to go 1 inning, and he's out of there. So you're going to see 92, 95. You're going to see all 3 pitches. You're going to see him airing it out. He's going to work to both sides of the plate. There's no idea here that I got to hold something back so that when I get into the 5th and a bases loaded jam, I have something else I can go to get you out with. So he's just dumping the whole thing on you. And if he does it in 4 pitches, that's a tough at-bat. How do you handle the at-bat? Do you battle? Are you on time? Do you have a plan? Do you make an adjustment mid-at-bat if you have to? Are you able to get on time from the batter's box into the hitter's box, and initially be on time to create some issues for the pitcher? So, you know, from y'all's standpoint and dealing with these players as high school guys, how do you attack that aspect of, hey, it's not designed for you to do well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the line that everybody uses is like hold your own. Like, you know, when we go talk to guys like, hey, yeah, he held his own this weekend, or hell, he held his own at the event. And so as all you're trying, like you're bad, like you're almost in a 2-strike approach when you get to some of these events, because I've never met a guy, I've done border battle, a lot of pro events. I've never met a guy that just kind of lobbed it in there. Like, I mean, their hat's falling, they're losing some of their delivery. They are trying to throw the ball through the catcher. And so sometimes the hitters, you're just kind of stuck. You're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. This guy was 89 when I saw him the first time. Now he's 93, and I don't know where it's going. So you make a lot more uncomfortable at bats. I mean, the whole thing they all want is loud contact. I'm going to let you know, if you're a pro prospect as a hitter, you can probably hit the ball out, or you can really, really run and defend. If you can do one of those two things, like that's probably where like you kind of know which one you are. So like when you go in a game, we want to see if you can get to your A swing. So if you're a power guy, like, can you actually hit the ball out with power? Everybody in pro ball can pull a baseball. Like, I'm just going to let you know, everybody in pro ball can pull a baseball out. Even the guy that's 5'9", they can all pull home runs. So then it's like, can you hit the backside home run? Can you stay through the ball and hit it with back spin versus side spin? If you're the run defensive guy, like, one, like, how often are you getting on base? Two, like, how elite is your defense?
Aaron, any thoughts as you're getting your guys ready?
Yeah, no, it's the good news about that is every pitcher is trying to hit at number 2. So you're going to get a fastball. I mean, going back to Walker Jenkins and those guys that, when you're coaching the high school game, they may go 10 ABs before they see a fastball. And hopefully, these guys, they've got protection behind them. So, if you walk Hucko, you may still have to face Seaman. So you're going to get a fastball. And my big first thing indicator to me is, are you on time for a fastball? That's the number one thing for me. Always has been.
And that's a great point in terms of
you're going to get a shot. Now, it might not be comfortable.
We're losing him, Zach.
Oh, Coach, I ain't heard one word he said the entire time. So
you're just cutting in and out a little bit, but it's a good point with the fastball. We stress it a little bit in these showcases too. When we get North Carolina, South Carolina border battle, we try to explain to the guys it's baseball, but it's not. We want you to be ultra aggressive. 3-0's a go count, 2-0's a go count. Don't spit on a fastball because you're working the count. Nobody here wants to see that when you're getting 3 at bats. And you're going to see a different at bat in every guy, or different arm every at bat you have. Let's get in there. Let's be aggressive. If you can show me that you can be on time from the on deck circle into the batter's box, that is a big time hitter's tendency. Guys that can really hit are on time early. And then you can affect the at bat the rest of the time, because now you can dictate. I'm going to start eliminating pitches from you during this at bat. And that tends to translate. If guys like that, they will come to the MPI. They will come to our national championships. They will come to other regional type tournaments that are going on and be able to sit and kind of watch you grind on at bats. And now we can sit. Now we can, really be fastball, conscious and making sure we're on time and we're getting our pitch in our happy zone and we're not expanding that happy zone and, trying to drive balls. But it is a little bit more in these type showcase type environments where you're going to get, a one-time deal or, 2 to 3 at bats. Let's get the swings off on pitches. Maybe the first pitch is thrown in there. So 2 names that came up for me. I'm going to share videos. We're going here. The first one I know popped at, Precinct All-State East is a guy that we had seen, at the Dirtbags Scout Day last summer. We had tracked him a little bit through the summer, but then he shows up this preseason and, just looks the part. He's an NC State commit. Wilson, make sure on the high school. Wilson Hunt High School. This is Stone Massey. And, it's just everything works kind of easy. As big the frame is, the arm, he's on time. He's got good direction. The head's got stability. The lower half's on time. As he puts on more mass, he's going to start moving faster down the mound. But I love the arm action, the arm angle. I love what the breaking stuff did as he was going through this. And being able to kind of see, you can see the breaking ball there, being able to see how those windows kind of worked. And he's got natural run. I know, Zach, you were a fan of Stone as you went through and did your evaluations on these guys.
Yeah, I just like big effortless movers are very intriguing. Because, like from the pro side of things, like he looks like a professional. The body looks like a pro. So then you get to see the stuff. It's February. I think he touched 88 or 89. I know there's been some twos on some good days. But, like, he just went through it like it was just another day in the park. Like he was throwing a bullpen in his backyard to his buddy. And those start taking off because most times we're seeing guys head whip themselves and spin in circles, and like he didn't do any of that. He was so controlled, relaxed, and if you're gonna tell me he's 90, 94 right now, I'm gonna believe you. If you're gonna tell me he's 88, 91 right now, like I'm there. He can have a 6 mile an hour range just because his effort level is low, and it's not a knock on Stone. That's more of a compliment. Like, hey, like you don't look like you're trying too hard. I'm sure there might be another gear, but what you're doing is really working.
Right. Well, and it's with guys like that too. One of the things that we get, a lot of comments on, questions on with the rankings, and they're fair, is if you just touch a number, you're going to go up in the rankings, and to a point, yeah, kinda. But we also have to work through to separate. What's the real difference between 92 and 94? What's the real difference between 90 and 93? Is there? I mean, if the spin's not doing anything different, if the movement's not doing anything different, it's what you do with breaking balls. It's what your effort level is, what your projection is. And so as we're going through the 26s, we're having to limit our projection a little bit because, within what we're doing with our rankings, it's a little bit of where are they now and a lot of where are they going to be. With that 26 class, they're closer where they're going to be. We have a little bit better feel. With the draft guys, you're still projecting them out, but with some of the guys that are in that next range, it's more of who are we going to take, who's going to make a college impact fairly quickly, who's going to be sustained college impact, who's going to be a hideout guy in college for a year and then make a heavy impact, and how do you rank those things? How do you value those? With the 27 class, the 28 class, now you're still dealing with a lot of projection and what could be. Sometimes we miss some projection. The number one in the 2020 class who finished ahead of Nolan McLean was a ton of projection. But it was a big, long, lanky lefty who had arm strength and just had to clean up the pitchability. Did it get to the point? No. Nolan's become a better player. He's a better prospect. So is that a miss? It's risk and reward. You put him in another developmental system. Does it matter? Does it go differently? Possibly. But I love where Stone's at right now and what he has a chance to be. My other one, and Aaron, I'll let you kind of jump in here after I introduce this one, is a catcher. He's committed to VCU. He was at our Central event. And I got a chance to actually see him a little bit last week as well, but Miguel Delgado, listed at 6'1", 221. It's physical. There's strength in the lower half. And he's a good mover. He's got bend in his hips. You can see it's a thicker body, but he moves okay, and there's good bend and good athleticism in the hips and ankle, and the ball jumps off the bat. I'm going to scroll down here real quick and just kind of get a peek at, where his TrackMan numbers were. Up to 102, carried 91. He hit a home run out at Ting Park or whatever they're calling it now the day we were out there. So your initial thoughts on Miguel as you were able to watch him a little bit at the Central event, Aaron?
Oh, he's got – you talk about a baby face on a big old boy. He still looks real young. And you want to talk about power, buddy, I mean, that dude can swing it and swings it with a purpose. Only real question mark I have on these guys would be, can he run? I know he's a catcher, but those guys want guys that can run. But like I told Coach Gann at Catawba, if you got to jog to second, or if you can jog to second, it's better than sprinting to first.
Right. And he ran okay, 4.2, 6.30. It's slightly below average, but also, it's a one-time deal. We're not running guys 3 or 4 times. And, he moves okay. I'll pull a little bit of the game videos. We're out watching these guys play in high school as well. So, he's playing for ECA. This is a series they have with Pro 5. I think that at bat may have been – that was not Luke Samples. But, he saw several good arms. We get a chance to see him from several different angles. And, the barrel feel here was not quite as good as it was in the BP, which, that makes sense with a lot of hitters. He just missed some balls. It also makes sense when it's February and March as to what's going to happen there. But I think he's a guy with the looseness he has and with the way the body is shaped. You're still trying to look for projection. There is reason to believe that body is going to clean. It's going to get quicker, and he's going to be in a position where the power tool has a chance to play up. Left-handed hitting catchers. He's a fairly accurate arm. It's a fairly athletic exchange. I think the arm strength is going to get a little bit better. He's going to be an adequate catcher, and if he really values receiving, he'll help their staff get better and better. But it's the left-handed aspect and the chance to hit that's going to drive the prospect. And for me, is an interesting guy to kind of follow. So we'll transition now and talk a little bit about some of the stuff going around on the high school scene, and looking at some of the top players and top teams in North Carolina. Zach, I know you had a chance to go out and watch a top 10 matchup this weekend. What did you see?
Yeah, I got Gibbons and Conley. Got to see, I didn't get to see the two top arms, but I got to see a bunch of everybody else. Gibbons through Peter Hoffman, and man, I'm gonna tell you, like, if you needed a bulldog, it was Peter. Like 79 to 83, had a really good spinning breaking ball. He pitched in and out of jams for 5 innings against a pretty good lineup. He grinded. Gibbons was, pretty good on the bats. I'm not gonna lie, Tarkenton, my bad, dude. I didn't know you could hit. I just thought you were an arm. Like, I apologize. I know I was talking about Kiker being number 1, bro. After watching you hit, you might be in that contention, dude. Like, my bad. Like, I messed up. I never knew you could swing, but boy, you can swing that thing.
Talk about their lineup a little bit, because it's Tarkenton, it's Jacob Mudd, it's Virid.
So it goes. I'm definitely gonna mess this up. It goes.
Who did you like? Who did you like?
Oh, I like.
It's got depth.
Great. Virig, Virog. I'm
Virig.
Not get the name right. He batted first. He had a double right center. Man, he was playing some really good third base. Actually made a couple diving plays, keep him in games. Andrew Rydell, kid going to Denison. Man, I thought he hit a homer. I was standing beside his dad. I turned away. Hey, I guess it hit the fence. I mean, he absolutely, just crushed the baseball. Then they had some. I'm not even going to try and pronounce. There was a number 9 hitter making a season debut. Bro, my bad. I did not get your name. He had 2 hits in the season debut on varsity. I will shout you out later. But I am happy for you. You got your 2 first varsity hits. They're really good. I think
let's look at Virig real quick, because Reimer and I had a chance to see him in Wilmington.
Yeah.
He's listed. It's 6'3", 189. He's an outfielder. He's an infielder. I know he pitched a little bit in that game as well.
Yeah, he touched 88. He was really good. As I said, they're a really good team. This might be the matchup for the 7A East Finals. I think they're both in it together. Conley's got more arms than most colleges. Like, it was absolutely insane. I don't think I saw their 1, 2, or 3. And then they ran out Colton Newbern going to East Carolina. That was 90-93 with a breaking ball and just some funk. And then they ran out Connor Berry, probably one of the better uncommitted 26s, 86 to 90 with a 3,000 spin rate curveball. And then Mr. Ethan Stewart, who was a 28. I think he's the top 28 in our class.
He is.
He was 84 to 88 with another breaking ball.
Yeah, he's an outfielder first, but the ability to pitch lengthens what they do, right?
Yeah, and then they had Gavin Whitley. I think he came to the Central event, and he was 87, 89. I mean, these guys threw out 4 arms that were 88 plus, and I think there's another 4 or 5 that are 88 plus. Like, they have a legit chance to have 8 to 10 guys 88 plus. Well, I mean, I know you can only throw one at a time, but they can if you're not having a good day, they can take care of this pretty quickly.
Yeah, Whitley was impressive at the Central, and again, a guy that does a little bit of everything. I think the future, from everything I've been told and people that I trust, is kind of here on the bump, but exit velocity above 100, in a young player is a 2028. So, he's a guy we're following and watching, potential future games guy, as we kind of figure out how that roster is going to land and play. The 1 game scenario in North Carolina is not a great setup for teams that have this type of depth. And it also puts some stress on coaches too, because, you look at, how teams can go through the state playoffs, and, hey, we're going to run a guy out there, and if he's good, we're going to stick with him. We're going to ride him. If he's not good, we're going to the next guy, and we'll start figuring that out. if you have that depth, you can do that. If you don't have that depth, well, here's our guy. And if he's not good early, we need to get him good. He needs to figure it out. We need to talk to him. We need to put our arm around him. We need to yell at him. Whatever we got to do, we got to figure out a way for him to get through that system. Those teams with depth, sometimes the panic doesn't set in until the 5th or 6th inning, just because, hey, we just went to another arm. He'll be fine. He gave up a run. Okay, we go to the next arm. He'll be fine. We'll get a 0. We gave up a run. And it's not that they're going to give up 5 or 6 in the second. It's they're going to give up 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, and they just can't close an inning. Something bleeds, something happens. And so how do they distance and how do they create that room for those teams? Talk a little bit about Conley's lineup. I know they have played an extremely good. I love what they did scheduling-wise. They're seeing good arms. They're being challenged. But for them to score runs at a higher clip and higher pace, what do you think needs to happen over the course of the year with that lineup?
Yeah, I think their 3 through 6 is going to have to kind of pick up a little bit. They have a chance to be able to dominate games. I'm not going to lie. They go small lefty, 1-2. Probably my least favorite thing to pitch to as a former pitcher is facing a lefty batting leadoff. They go lefty right away. I want to say, Stewart had a couple good swings in the game, but he has a chance to wreck it and be a game changer. He didn't have that game. But if they're 4, 5, 6 can just drive some baseballs. They had a rough game against Hoffman for the most part. I think it's one of those things where they're going to have games where they score 12, but they got to find some games. And they scored 5, be honest with you. The number 2 batter hit a 3-run homer in the 7th with 1 out. So they're deep in weird places too. I think that their bashers are going to have to bash a little bit better. Hitting's hard. It's hard to go single. I said this last night, and Venezuela did it. They went 4 straight singles in a row. But hitting's hard. So I think they're going to have to find some more doubles along the way. Listen, Mills is one of the best coaches in I'm going to say the country, the heck with the state. He's fine. It's just going to be, can they buy into the process? I actually sat and talked to him after the game. I was like, dude, this might be the best thing for you. Sometimes when you lose, it's good. And we always had good teams, and he's always had good teams, but sometimes you need that loss for somebody to listen to you. Half the time your players are, Coach, we're undefeated. We got 9 guys at 90. Yeah, I feel you, but we just lost. So, sometimes it kind of helps out, and that kind of lets you be able to preach your point a little bit more.
Aaron, we had I get to see a lot of the Charlotte clubs. Obviously, if people are following and tracking what we've done over the last 5-7 years, in North Carolina with our coverage, you see a lot of Charlotte coverage because I can work till 3 or 4, and I can still go on the road, and I can still see a ton of teams within my area and get things out, get them published. It's hard to see games, write scouting reports, and get those posted and go to another game. So, having you on the coast has been great, especially with Laney being really good. Hoggard coming off a really strong season, and still returning some younger players, kind of in a revamp mode just a little bit. New Hanover, a program obviously you're very familiar with, has some high-end talent, has a tremendous history. There's some up-and-coming teams in the area as well. But that idea of those teams being able to kind of get outside of their region and see some people. You had the Charlotte guys coming into your territory. Charlotte, the Mecklenburg County had a weird spring break. It was last week. I have no idea why, but it was a weird spring break. My kids who are in Union County aren't on spring break for another 2 weeks, so it was weird. But you got a chance to see them. Did anybody impress you, whether it was the Wilmington guys or the Charlotte teams?
Oh, man. Like I said, I got to see Myers Park, who across the board is physically gifted. I don't know that one guy in particular stood out, but they've got 9 dudes in the lineup, and then I swear they got 18 more in the dugout that are ready to go.
Yep.
South Iredale's super solid club. Really like the catcher. I think his last name Beakley.
Yep. Eli.
Yeah, he's a good player. My boys over at Huff. I'm not real pedestrian lineup. They can put up some big numbers in a hurry. It's weird because it seems like every game I went to was a Charlotte school.
Yeah.
So
they all got together and went out there. I thought it was great, and and they go ahead.
I don't know if this is because of the 8A system now, but if you look at our top 25, they are playing each other, and they are playing each other a lot. Like there are some – Laney's playing Topsail tonight, and like I'm going to go watch UNCW, NC State, but like as a fan of the game, I want to be at that game.
Yeah.
You got Britt versus Sproul more than likely. I mean, there's just such – I'm so glad teams are hunting competition. You talk about Mills' schedule. I mean, there's no real downside to playing the games they're playing, not with 8 classifications.
They've done a better job. I'm waiting to get to the playoffs and see it kind of come to fruition. But the idea now with the 8As, if you play a good schedule and you win some games, you're going to be in the playoffs. Whereas the old system with 4A, teams didn't know how to get in the playoffs. You would see guys get rewarded for playing nobody but win a lot of games, and you would see other teams be rewarded for playing a tough schedule but having to win some games. And those teams that were in the middle, if you played a really tough schedule but you didn't win enough games, you weren't getting in, you would have been better off just playing nobody. That's gone. And so now you're seeing clubs, okay, how do we prepare our guys best for making a run at the end of the year, winning a conference championship or whatever it's going to be? We've got to get these guys some experience. We've got to get them a chance to play. And, honestly, there are now high schools that have done a decent job of building some depth, whether it's through their JV system or just, the influx of talent moving into their area or whatever it is. And so you've got to play good teams because you're going to have to give some guys some days off and give some other guys some chances. You're going to have to manage your pitch counts. The other thing that's happened this year is we had 1 week of practice. I know they're doing individuals, but you had 1 week of practice really before you were kind of teeing it up and going live. So, those chances to get guys out, get them live at bats, whether they're offensive or pitching, and then as we start to get into April and then early May, now are we in a position where, we're really stacked and ready to go. You talked about Myers Park, Henry Bauer on the front end of the rotation for them is a Washington commit. It's a big body, big frame. I saw him the first week of the season. Evan Howard is a Richmond commit, probably as an infielder. For me, profiles at third, first, maybe second. But, with the way people are positioning guys now, you don't have to have as much lateral agility, lateral depth and range. He may be able to stick it short because he does catch the ball. He's fairly accurate across, but he's swinging the bat. He's physical. They brought arm. John Pearson came out of the bullpen, bumped 90. He's physical. So it was. They get off the bus, and they will win some games just showing up because they fill out the uniform better than most other high schools. And that right, wrong, or indifferent, that does play a factor. I
watched 2 of their outfielders, one of them who's getting DH for, make Sports Center top 10 plays. So
Chase Blackman hit a home run for me the first week I saw them. And you talk about a physical-looking athlete, tapered waist, broad shoulders, muscular lower half, decent runner. And, again, his BP is beginning to translate into games. So, the other one, you mentioned was Huff, and I got to see Huff play once. They're trying to develop what they're doing on the mound, but they have a dude in the middle of the order or the front of the order or wherever they want to put him that other teams have to identify. And from a college standpoint, we're going through. We had scouting reports. We had things posted in lockers. We had put things posted in the dugout. We did a meeting before the weekend started. We do a meeting before every game. Hey, here's the lineup. Here's our check marks. Hey, our green guys, the guys we're going to go after, they're these spots in the order. Our red guy, the guy that's not going to beat us no matter what happens, he is sitting here in the order. This is his number. The run guys, these are our green light run guys. These are our yellow light run guys. However the terminology was, but we gave our guys a rundown, and we had it posted so they knew where they were at in the order. For you guys, a lot less limited time, and these guys know everybody, but you're also trying to manage the game in terms of that personal battle of I've been playing with this guy since 11. He's owned me versus, hey, there's 6 other guys in the order that I'm a lot more worried about than that one guy. I know he's had some success against you. We're going to attack him because the other 6 bother me. Did you guys have time to go through scouting reports with a Jackson Matthews type guy like Huff has?
We had a lot of stuff. Like, I wanted to say that I went to too many high school games and probably knew too much about other people. Like we had a book on it. And I mean, high school hitters are probably more mental than most. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like we used to reverse shift something. Nolan McLean, we would move the shortstop to dang second base almost and just leave the shortstop open, hope he tried to hit a ground ball to short, and that way he would hit a single, and that wouldn't affect us nearly as much as him hitting a homer.
Yeah.
A lot of it had to do with like in high school it's bunting. So for us, it was like guys that bunt and run. Power hitters, you kind of know everybody, you kind of hear about it. But for us, it was like which guys bunted and which guys ran the most. So like the only way you're gonna know that is going to games. I mean, Max Preps is better now than it was, but back then, I mean, people hit their game changers. People hit a lot of things to try to be creative. So the only way you could go is paying that $6 and going to watch the game.
Let me talk on that real quick because I'm in the information business, and so I want the information. I want to get the information disseminated. I love coaches. I love people on Game Changer if you fill out everything. I want first and last names, and I want players' numbers on the lineups. I know it's quicker just to put a number in there, but it distorts the way I look at a box score and the way I go through my information and trying to get information out of that stuff. It distorts the way college coaches are looking at it as well. The other part is unless you're a first or maybe a second-year head coach, we know. I know what you're going to do. I know when you're going to – and I like to see play all the time. I know when you're going to bunt. I know when you're going to run. I know how you're going to pitch guys because you've already done it. So you're not hiding things. And if they don't know, every time I go to a game and I see a first-year head coach, guess who's at the game on a Wednesday? 3 other teams in your conference. They got their notebooks back there. They're flipped open. They're taking all these notes. But really, it's just how is a game being managed. So pet peeve of mine, give the information out. People want it. People that are trying to make decisions on livelihoods, paying their mortgages, want information, give them the information. I know you're trying to hide it. It's competitive. Everybody knows. You're not hiding anything. Send it out. So, Reimer, thoughts?
Yeah. I was the guy – we did spray charts on Game Changer. I'm going back looking pitch by pitch, just to mark where you hit a ball. There's ways to get the information. But if we played a non-conference game, we were much more likely just to say, let's strap it up and go. Nolan McLean, you're going to get a fastball at some point. But now if we were playing a conference game, things get a whole lot more intense, and we may be pitching around you.
And there's a thing to that idea of we have the reports, we have the information, we have this, but this is our strength. This is what we do well, and this is what we're going to do. So I know the report says he can't handle a fastball in. Well, we can't throw a fastball in. So we're not going to try to throw a fastball in just because the report says we got to work in. We're going to stay to our strengths. We're going to do what we do. In the grand scheme of things, yeah, if we have to make a pitch and we have to do something, we're probably taking that guy out of the game so we can make that pitch. But, 0-0 in the third, nobody's on base, we're going to stay to our strengths. We're going to do what we do best, and then we're going to see how it plays out.
Scout reports in high school are so different. Like – Jason Mills can tell me this kid can't hit a fastball. Well, I don't have a kid that can throw a Jason Mills staff fastball.
Right.
So, you've got to – I asked – when I got a scouting report, I was like, do they bunt? Do they run? And which kid can't beat me? You give me those 3 things, I can figure the rest out.
Yeah, there have been times in with what we did and getting reports from, power arms and power arm conferences and things like that, and you get the report in and say, hey – 94 in beats him all day. And I go, okay, on my staff, I've got one guy that's 94. I got a bunch of guys that were 92, and then I got a bunch of guys that are 88. So my 94 guy's not throwing tonight. So, okay, nope, we're not reading that part of the report. It's a great point. So, well, gentlemen, we're right at an hour. I appreciate you guys hopping on and a lot of information. World Baseball Classic tonight. Let's go Nolan McLean. I hope he has a really, really good outing. I grew up, I went to Millbrook High School. Garner was a rival way back when. We played each other a bunch. State football titles kind of came down to us and them, and we did not have as much success as they did because they had some running backs that were man-childs. But I'm rooting for Garner High School tonight. Nolan McLean, let's get it done. for Zach Borowski, for Aaron Reimer, I'm Brandon Hall. This has been the Prep Baseball of North Carolina podcast. We'll see you guys at the field.